Your time is up. You're currently in the exam hall sitting and waiting for your exam to start. Once it's time, you quickly start writing. As you're taking the test, you realize
you have 30 minutes left
and have many more pages to go. You start to panic. Your heart is racing. Your hands are sweaty. You're on the verge of tears. With little to no time, you start writing random answers, hoping to at least pass the exam. Well, what a total nightmare. But no more, because in this episode of Study Diaries, we are going to talk about 5 test-taking techniques that will prevent this from happening forever. If this sounds interesting, keep watching till the end. Starting with tip number 1, which is to do a memory dump. Picture this. You're sitting in the exam hall and your exam paper is right in front of you. When your examiner says, "You may start now," you immediately take out your pen and you start writing from question 1. Don't. That is a big mistake. Don't do that. Instead, what you will do is to take a pencil and start writing everything you memorized 30 minutes before the exam. Every concept, every definition, any important thing that you memorized before the exam, write it down. Take a pencil and quickly just jot down every single thing that you are bound to forget on a piece of paper. Write everything you think you would forget down. After that, you spend 5 minutes doing that and you're ready to finally start in the first question. This is what I mean by a memory dump. Normally, what happens to us is we just start the exam, and when we're doing question 1, we are kind of confident, you move on to question 2, and then when you reach a certain question, you kind of don't remember this, but you just studied this before the exam. But suddenly you blank out, you don't remember what was the answer to this. You've totally forgotten. You've forgotten a formula, you've forgotten a definition, you've forgotten a concept, and you panic. You start to scramble through your brain trying to remember something and trying to recall what you just remembered literally 30 minutes ago. And in the end, you end up wasting time, and that ruins the whole thing. So we do not want to go through this, and I wouldn't want any of you to go through that. So instead, do this before you actually start the exam. After you've done your memory dump, you can actually start the paper. And once you have start the paper, and if you get stuck, you can always flip back and see what you wrote in the beginning. And in the end, you can just erase everything and submit your answer. And then now you're ready for tip number 2, which is to adopt the practice test mindset. What does it mean to adopt the practice test mindset? So let's say you're having an exam in 2 weeks or a month. What you do is you go through practice tests and you try to do as much practice as you can. I hope you're doing that because that's the most effective way to study. But if you'd like to know more of how to study, you can check out my video over here. I talk about it more in detail. Anyways, you practice and practice. During your practice test, you notice that you do so much better compared to your exams. Suddenly in your exams, you don't do well at all. If you were getting 70s in your practice, suddenly in your exam, you're getting 60s. Or if you're getting an A, suddenly you're getting a B, or it can happen. This is because during your exams, your cortisol levels are high. Your adrenaline is even higher. You are panicking. The stakes are higher. You are constantly thinking all negative thoughts. You're scared. You're worried that you might fail yourself. You're worried that you might fail the exam. You're worried that you might get the worst grades ever. You're worried that everything you've ever worked for goes to 0. So you start to panic. And when you panic, your brain cannot process your information faster. Instead, it's only thinking about how to protect you from this situation that you are in. So you either freeze up or you just think of ways to kind of like rush through it and get it over with and get out. We do not want that. To avoid you going through the spiral of trying to find ways to get this done quickly so that you can leave the hall, we want you to actually answer confidently. So the best thing to do is to think of this as a practice test. Just think of this as another practice test that you've done. Convince yourself, convince your brain that this does not affect you. It's a normal test. You will get through it. It's a normal practice. And even if you do fail, it's a learning experience. Easier said than done, but the moment you change your mindset, you are able to get through the test and do 10 times more better than when you would have under stress. And when you are stressed, you tend to make so much careless mistakes. Like, I remember when I was doing my math exams in the IGCSE, as I did IGCSEs, and I had a math exam and I made such careless mistakes. I would get this correct when I did past papers, but suddenly I did the same careless mistake that I normally wouldn't in the exam, and this is because of panic. You're so panicked that you start making careless mistakes and you lose so much marks from that. Just thinking about this hurts. It hurts. So we want to avoid you from doing the same thing. So the best is to take deep breath and remind yourself this is only a test. This is just practice, and life doesn't end if I fail this test. Tip number 3 is to fill up the pages. What does filling up the pages mean? So this is for questions that you don't exactly know the answers to. For example, if you read a question, you understand the question, but you don't know the exact answer. You know some concepts around it, you kind of have an idea, but you can't pinpoint the exact answer to that. Just write whatever you know on the paper. Just dump everything. I was that student that would write even in the small lines, just try to fill in as much as I can fill in, especially if I didn't know what the answer was. I would dump everything and just write. Many times it has saved me. It has definitely saved me. I remember back when I was doing IGCSE physics, I took physics and I wasn't good at physics at all. And if you ask me a physics question, I wouldn't know, so don't ask. But when I was doing physics, I was terrible. I wasn't good at physics, okay? But I loved physics. I loved the idea of doing this. I enjoyed it, but I was terrible at it. And then in the end, because I was terrible, I started hating it a little bit, but that's a different story. So when I was doing the physics questions, I remember having these exams where I read the question, I understood the question, but I had no idea how to answer the question. I just understood a bit of the concept, but I didn't know what was the exact answer to it. And what did I do? Dump everything that I know. I basically wrote whatever I could think of. Anything that's related, I just wrote. Not related as well, I just wrote it. Because it's just better than keeping it blank. And guess what? That question was 4 marks and I got 2 marks from it. Half the mark. Despite being so unsure. And the best part is, for that exam, I got about 58, and because of the 2 mark, I managed to at least get a 60. That was so if I didn't write anything, I would have been a 58. It's not a life-changing or drastic improvement, but it helps you. The extra 2 marks can be the difference between a C and a B. So write something. Just write something, and who knows, you might actually get it correct. Moving on to tip number 4, which is to find the missing piece. This tip mostly applies to anyone who is doing an MCQ question, so a multiple choice question paper. When you do a multiple choice question paper, normally there's a question and you have 4 answers to choose from. You kind of have to choose the correct answer. So for this type of questions, sometimes you get stuck between 2 answers. You read the question, you can eliminate 1 or 2 options, but you're stuck between 2. So this is what you do when you're stuck between 2. You ask yourself this question: what else would have to be correct for this to be true? What else would have to be correct for this to be true? So let's look at it in an example. So this way it will help you understand it better. So looking at this example on the screen, choose the correct answer. Plants need carbon dioxide and for photosynthesis. Answer number 1, A, nitrogen. B, water, sunlight, and oxygen. C, water and sunlight. D, glucose and oxygen. Immediately when you read this, you can eliminate A and you can also eliminate D, because nitrogen isn't in the... Plants do not need nitrogen for photosynthesis, and it's easy for us to just cross that out. And D, glucose and oxygen, no, because glucose and oxygen are the products of photosynthesis, not what's required to go through photosynthesis. So this one you can eliminate, but you might be stuck with B and C. You read B and you water, sunlight, and oxygen, and C says water and sunlight. We know that water and sunlight is essential for photosynthesis because this is the common answer between the two. But oxygen, you might be wondering, is oxygen needed for photosynthesis? or isn't. If you're stuck with this, you can ask yourself, what else would have to be true for this to be correct? Plants. When do plants normally require oxygen? Plants only require oxygen for respiration, and they go through respiration mostly at night. It happens during the day, but very minimum. Mostly at night, they go through respiration, hence why they take in oxygen. So they do not need oxygen during the day or for photosynthesis. So that's when you cross oxygen out, and the correct answer being C. This is the most simplest example I could think of, but this concept, this tip on its own can be applied in any subject, whether it's chemistry, physics, history, whatever subject you're taking, you could apply this. Just ask yourself, what else would have to be true for this to be correct? We're finally on to the last tip and the most important tip of all, which is to believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Go through the exam as if you have already passed it. Believe that you can do this. Believe that you can ace this exam. This is known as a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're going to the exam thinking that you're a failure, guess what? You will end up failing this exam. When people believe that there's something, it influences their results, performance, and what comes out of it. So in this case, your exam results. If you believe that you're a failure, you can't do anything right, you're going to fail this exam, you're going to ruin everything, that's exactly what will happen. And we do not want to have that in your head. Before the exam, prep yourself. Believe in yourself. Keep giving yourself positive affirmations. Think to yourself that you have prepared, you have done your best. And even if you did fail, it is not the end of the world. I have failed multiple exams in my life, and I've cried about it, I've said sad about it, but today it didn't affect me because currently I'm still in university. Now I'm scoring at 4.0. I didn't get to this overnight. I wasn't born smart or some genius. No, I learned the correct systems and helped me to get here. And I am also here to teach you those systems so that you can also become an academic weapon. If you'd like to know how to tackle all your study problems, whether it's being unproductive, unmotivated, or not studying the correct way, or always failing your exam, welcome to the channel. In this channel, we talk about everything studying, from productivity to learning how to study to tackling study challenges. If you really want to better yourself and learn systems that will help you, do check out the channel and also subscribe for more tips. With that, dear viewers, check out this playlist to help you get started. With that, I'll see you there. Goodbye and take care. And remember, you can do this.